Okay, I put the 85 Shovelhead project, or let's say 85 Softail with the Shovelhead engine. It's an 83 FLT. I have some things I want to do to this today. First, these bars. So this is not working for me. These still move no matter what I do to try to tighten this down. There's also a crack here. So I was going to replace these risers, but the problem with that is I don't have a place to mount this. You can see this is all broken. So I'm probably not going to finish this today because I'm going to have to come up with some way to mount this, and I might have to go to the store to get some parts. I don't know. While I wait for parts for this, I'm going to try to retime this bike. But first of all, these are the risers I bought. They're a little bit shorter, if you can see. So that'll give me about 2 inches, well, about maybe 2.5, 3 inches lower, and that's fine. They're also, each have their own clamps, and these aren't, as you can see, these should have plenty of grip on them. They're not knurled, and I don't think the bars are either, so I might need to do something there to create some knurling. I haven't really decided yet. I've actually watched a lot of videos on different options. One thing I might try before actually cutting anything is using these drywall screen. It's basically a screen of steel, crisscross. You can put in here, and that should hopefully bite in. I don't know if these are aluminum or steel. They don't feel very heavy, so I don't know. I'd have to check. So the other thing is, I have points in this bike, and so I need to retime this, and the reason is I have so I have an S&S Super E carburetor. These are S&S performance heads, and then I have an S&S high torque cam in here. I believe it's an S&S. I'd have to go look it up. I forget what the actual number is. I'm using solid lifters from Sifton, and I know they're not the best out there, but that's what I had available to buy at the time. So what I'm learning is there's like 3 different ways to time a Shovelhead engine depending on the year and the type. This motor shipped from Harley with a factory electronic ignition. So the book is going to have instructions for setting up the electronic ignition. What I did is I put points in. There are no instructions for the points on this bike. So just following, you know, what people say online and what I was able to read, I set them up as a traditional Shovelhead setup, right? Where you put the mark on advanced in the center of the hole, and then you adjust the points so that you have to, well, the instructions I got was you have to turn the cam. So maybe I should take this apart and show you in real time. Let me do that. I'll be right back. Alright, so I have the top off, the cover. One of the things I need to do too is check the points gap. So this is a points ignition that I bought. Just, you know, it has the weights inside of it. So what people do is they'll set the flywheel with the advance in the center, which is what the book says to do. And they'll come here and they'll turn this lobe, right, which I don't know if you can see it in there. It's really hard to do, but that thing moves, okay? When you move it, what it does is it's pushing those weights out. So what people do is they move this so the weights come out, and then they time it at the full advance mark with the weights out. And it makes logical sense, because you're saying, okay, we're setting it at full advance. We have to make sure the timer's at full advance, and this way, when the bike is running, you know, these things will expand out and will be advanced or not. So the other way I've seen people do it is they'll set the bike at top dead center, and then they'll set this without turning this lobe here. So you're basically setting it at top dead center with the idea that the weights will expand, and then, you know, advance the timing properly. What I was reading though is on this particular bike, because it was set up for an advance or for electronic ignition, the timing mark isn't really truly where you would set it for a points ignition. So I'm going to test that theory, because I set this up using what most people say to do, which is, you know, slam this at full advanced, set it all up and everything. Research I've been finding, just watching videos, reading different things, using AI, which I do tend to use a lot now, is that this ends up with bikes being over advanced. And so in my situation with the cam and everything, if I'm just out riding 1,000 RPMs, you know, as idle, go around 1,500 to 2,000 RPM, you know, you're just kind of cruising a little bit, not too high, not too fast. I mean, it's perfect. It's awesome. It runs great. I can crank on the throttle, it'll get me power, everything seems fine. But if I'm trying to sustain like an uphill, and you know, you start to bog down, so typically, you know, you downshift, and the downshifting would raise the idle, raise the RPMs, right? Advance the motor, so you get that power to go up the hill. What's happening for me though was I would downshift as I'm losing power. I'd get a little bit, but then it would just kind of bleed off, like there was nothing there. So I'd have to downshift again, or upshift back, lower the RPMs, and I would feel like I have power again, that I can make it up the hill. So I really couldn't go up hills fast, and obviously that's a problem, because it's not supposed to work that way. So what I did, originally thinking, well, maybe it's a problem with jetting, so I did upgrade the jets in this, and I haven't actually taken this out on the road to test with yet, because of other issues that I've had to deal with in my life. But I want to try to get back to this and set the timing right. What I was finding out is that you set it in the center, the mark in the center, and you set the timing here with this relaxed, and just, you know, and then what happens then is when you start the bike, it's going to be, these weights aren't going to expand on idle. They're only going to expand once you raise the RPMs. So the RPMs is really only going to advance it once you're moving, right? By slamming this in full advance here, you're not getting it perfect. And the difference is on the panhead, so it's more of a mechanical connection. This, because of the weights, you have sort of some fudge room in there. The springs may not be perfect, the weights may not be perfect, so you don't get your timing right. So I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work, but you know, we'll see how it goes, because obviously over timing an engine is bad. You can, you know, get hot, detonation, all kinds of weird problems. But having it a little retarded, you know, it's not great, but at least, you know, give me some indication of what's going on. The other thing is, when you set the timing on the panhead, everybody says set it, you know, with the timer full advance. That's what the book says and everything. When I set it top dead center with the timer full reversed or full retarded, I mean, now that panhead starts up on one kick every time. I mean, it's phenomenal, the difference. So I was like, hey, can I use that same method here? And the answer was no, because of this advanced thing. And what I learned is that the advanced mark is actually set so that when you set it there, doing it with this geometry, everything then falls into place once you start it up. I'm not an expert. I don't know. So I'm going to see. I did reach out to some folks online just to see how they timed their 83 and to see if it made a difference. There's some people that typically have these old Shovelheads, and over time Harley, their ignition has evolved. So depending on what year you have, your timing is going to be different, your timing instructions, and that's because the flywheel is going to be marked differently depending on how they decided to do it that year. This is just what I've read. If it's true or not, I don't know. I wasn't obviously old enough around that time. You know, in 1983 I was probably what, 10, 11 years old maybe. So I knew nothing, and I still don't know much. So I'm going to dig into this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find top dead center. By doing that, I'm going to pull the plugs. I'm going to pull these out so I can scope it, make sure that I'm spinning and I'm on good top dead center. Once I find the top dead center, then I'm going to mark that. What I'm going to do too is I'm going to set this points gap to 20 before I do anything else. So I have to find that high lobe, which doesn't really matter where the engine is. I'll set this to 020, and then at that point I should be able to then change you know, the position of this for the actual timing to start. Now that said, this bike is not, it's not difficult to start. It has a kickstart, but you know, the starter motor has a little bit of problem where sometimes it won't engage. You have to move the bike a little bit forward or backward just to kind of move the gears into place, and then everything just sort of meshes and it starts. And usually within 1 or 2 revolutions it'll start right up. So I don't know if this change I'm making is really going to be dramatic, but if it fixes my problem where trying to drive uphill is difficult, well, I think that's going to be sort of a smoking gun that, okay, there's a different way to time this engine. So let me set up here with the camera. I'm going to pop the inspection hole cover off. I'm going to pop this apart, and then I'll set the camera up, and I'll show you what we're going to do from that point on. Alright, I took a couple of pictures of this I'll post up online. So I moved the bike over to top dead center, at least what I think it is, right? Here's the mark, top dead center. Problem is, it's not top dead center for the front. This cylinder is actually a little bit higher than this one right now. I need to determine exactly where top dead center is for this bike. So what I'm going to do is spin the motor around again, get this coming up on its compression stroke, try to find the top of the cylinder at its compression stroke, and then see what we have showing up in the window here. Okay, I set up my depth test scope here. Let's see, depth stitch, I guess, so I can see the other side of the bike since I'm alone here. What I want to do is see if I can get, let me see if I can move this to where I can see a little bit better. Okay, so right now it's just somewhere. This is spinning, these are not, so this tells me this valve is closed, this one's open. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this. You can see we can rotate the bike. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to rotate this till I can spin both of these. And so that means that they're both closed and we should be on the compression stroke. Okay, you see the top dead center. My rear intake is open, is closed, my rear exhaust is open, and both my intake exhaust and the front are a little bit open here, so I'm not sure where we're at. Let's see what we got as far as the advance. Should have come up before. Yeah, there's the advance. The advance comes up after the top dead center mark. Now both of these are open. Okay, so I need to go around again. Exhaust valve in the front is closing. It's fully closed. My intake valve in the front hasn't released yet. I feel it dropping. It's got that little double notch there. I'm not sure what that is, but my exhaust front valve is still open. My intake front valve is closed. Both of my rear valves are open. When I say open, I mean there's tension or pressure on it, so I can't spin the rods. So I'm gonna keep bumping this until I can spin the front valve. Here we go. Now that spins, and the exhaust valve then gets a little bit more difficult. Let's see if there's a sweet spot. Okay. Yeah, I think my valves are not proper, because if you notice that top dead center went by, which is odd to me. I thought that would be the right. If you're firing early, then the advance mark should show up before the top dead center. Right, we're spinning the engine in the correct direction. Let me spin it back. I'll go backward here. Okay. So my exhaust valve is really easy. It's spinning easily now, but my intake is not. Now I just felt the intake start to let go, and the exhaust is still a little tight. And now my intake is spinning nice and free now. No up down movement. My exhaust spins a little bit. It's still a little tight. So I'm guessing it's got to be a TDC now, right? There's the TDC. So, all right, I need to go back to the book because it's possible that my valves are not set right. The next line that comes up is advanced, but that doesn't make sense to me, because if it's coming up after the TDC mark, then that is the that means this is the advanced mark, and the line is actually top dead center. Very odd. Okay, I want to bump this over till I see that line showing up here, and then I want to see where I'm at with the valves. Move them back on me. There we go. All right, here's what the book, what everybody says is the advanced. Now my exhaust valve right now is mostly closed, or is mostly, it's pushing open, I should say. My intake valve is still closed. I need to go back to the book, because unless I'm getting this backward, right, as the engine spins, your advance mark, because it's advanced before top dead center, should show up before the top dead center mark. So am I timing this wrong? Am I timing this on what I think is the advance mark, but which is actually the top dead center? I don't know. So I need to go back to the book, and we'll be back when I have more information. Right, this is starting to line up with what I'm seeing. So here is a late style, right? This is early style. I have an 83 motor. This goes to FLT from 80 to 83. So this is telling me on the early style, it looks like the dot is the top dead center, right? There's one. On here, it looks like it's the line on the late. That's not confusing at all. And then two, the spectrum hole cover is the same. The front cylinder advanced timing mark, okay, is going to be this little dot right there next to that little double thing. And the rear cylinder advanced timing mark. So it looks to me like I've got this thing completely wrong right from the beginning. And go figure, how does this thing even run? So it's saying, let's see, remove the spark plugs, turn the engine until the front piston is at the top of its compression stroke, right, which is the TDC. With the front piston in this position, the advanced timing mark 3 will align with the timing inspection hole. Okay, so the advanced timing mark 3, which is a dot, not a line, will mark with that hole. So the other confusing thing is, so this is an FLT motor, but I have this dot in there, I have that, and I have this. I don't know if I have that little hole up there though. So let me bring this back around. In theory, I'm at TDC right now, right? According to the book. Everybody says, get a book. All right, here's a book. 1, front cylinder top dead center. See? 1, 1, late style. I guess 83 would be late style. My battery's getting low on my GoPro here, so I'm going to see if I can bump this over to find that double little mark here and see if there's actually a dot above it. Because 4 rear cylinder timing mark on the late style. Are we actually going to be timing this on the rear cylinder? Either way, I still need to go through the valve adjustments once I figure out what these marks are for. So let's go back here. Let's bump this over. Alright, we're going to go to sleep now. Let's turn it back on. How's that for timing? Speaking of timing, thing goes off the second I hit the button. Alright, I'm just going to slowly do this until I see that little double mark show up in there. The one that was on the bottom. You know, I just realized we're upside down. There we go. Okay. Alright. There's our little double mark. Alright. Now, according to the book, there should be a dot up there. I don't see one. Or, what it's saying is that if there's a dot there, that's your front cylinder. Why you have these two things down here, I don't know. Our intake valve is closed on the rear, and it's closed on the front. I'm going to go around the other side. I want to see if I can actually see if there's any sort of other mark in there. I can tell you that neither piston is near the top. Here's the problem. I still don't know which mark is top dead center, which mark is advanced, and what that other double mark is. And the reason is, I don't have what looks like in a diagram. Get a book, they said. Alright, so I'm going to shut this off for now because my battery's about to die. So I'm going to have to put this on charge. I'm going to do a little bit more looky-loo on the internet, see what I can find, because this isn't really what I'm expecting to happen.